In northern Kenya, a land where elephants roam and lions roar, the Maasai community of the Orateti Makurian Conservancy in Laikipia are benefiting from training in planned grazing and holistic management in order to restore land and water health, provided by Wajibu in association with Laikipia Wildlife Forum. Decades of poor land management and the impacts of climate change have resulted in severe degradation in the rangelands. The land is deteriorating faster and on a wider scale than at any time in living memory. Wajibu have established a scientific baseline against which improvements in land health and increases in soil carbon can be measured and monitored. Wajibu and Laikipia Wildlife Forum are providing practical training in improved land management and planned grazing. Wajibu engage directly with the community at field-based workshops and training sessions.
We're in an area here you can see behind me and around called Orateti, and this is part of Makurian Group Ranch. Now, a group ranch is basically a privately owned ranch with many owners, so like a cooperative, and the resources used communally. This group ranch has severe problems with land degradation.
Overgrazing, which is a matter of time, not animal numbers, has contributed to this land degradation. A solitary sheep grazing day after day in the same location throughout the year would overgraze numerous plants. However, a large herd, whether livestock or wildlife, grazing on the move would not cause the same damage and would stimulate new plant growth.
Orapa te kue, orapa olari leivare ontomoni oile, kata pantare ontomoni siet oile. Nele papa loldonyo tenkarake shida pakiata tenakop, etumuta penakop pooki. Niaku nikitum shida oleng. Niaku kiata shida onkujit, etoyio enakop etaa olamei, nikiroyo oshi aidur aapuo oldonyo tenkaraki inewueji apa kidol anaa ninye apa naidim aisaidiai kuna kishu nikiata naa kuna tare. Ore apa enyamali natodua nalo adol teine wueji aitoki kitijing'a inakop nikiaku kumok oleng nikitum emoyian sapuk oleng tinakop. Nikinya sii ake nkujit nikimut amu ekindapash ake adaa anaa apa ewuon eitu kindur aapuo oldonyo. Nashukunye aata ntare 15. Nashukunye aata ntare 15 neitoki nena naake aiwuang' naing'uikini ntare 10.
In these dry rangelands, the total removal of animals and resting of the land would lead to further degeneration and desertification. In this semi-arid environment, the moisture present in the rich, fertile waste of animals is essential for the process of decay, which returns nutrients to the soil. As such, the Maasai of Orateti Makurian Conservancy have been taught by Wajibu and Laikipia Wildlife Forum how to rehabilitate their lands using their livestock. They have divided the Conservancy area into grazing blocks and brought their livestock together into large, mixed, tightly bunched herds, recreating the positive impacts of natural wildlife migrations. The action of hundreds of hooves moving across the land as one unit helps to break the hard, capped soil, sowing indigenous grass seeds and improving water infiltration.
Ore entoki natodoli ele ramatare esidai amu etaa ekinya enkop akiti mokure apa kijing ewueji pooki jumla aanya. Etaa taata ore ele ramat kigira anya ewueji anaa esehemu. Neeku taata nikidol anaa ore kinyata enkop anaa ina sehemu nikidol anaa ekiata akiba niking'ua mokure apa kijing enkop aidapashakino aanya eng'uei pooki.
Todua naa apa kaabaya ninche aajo kisidai naa amu ore naa venye anaa apa naitankasaki naa todua ketejoki naa apa ore anaa enaarata oldorot kisaidia naa peyie eshuku enkop ang', eshuku nkulupuo ang'. Eifundisa apa yiok naa rishada apa aikata tenkipirta elde oruko anaa venye naa taata nikindashie nkishu enkop naa metaa aarr naa apa ina kiti toki naa apa natii enkipirta enkop naji naa ninye nagira aisho nkulupuo metaa kirura.
At Wajibu workshops, the community are offered advice and training in land health, climate change, and the potential for soil carbon sequestration.
Zinatafuta njia kuonesha community na wakulima na wale watu wa ng'ombe kama wanachunga ardhi yao na afya ardhi inaongezeka na mazingira inaongezeka, labuda itapata njia ya kupata faida kidogo kutoka hiyo carbon market.
Iko kitu nataka kujua kutoka kwako. Na mimi nafurahi kusikia wewe umeguza wakati ulikuwa hapa. Unasema mambo ya hii kitu inaitwa carbon site, kitu kama hiyo. Hii kitu unasema akiwa itakuja kuwekwa ndani ya mchanga vile mimi nasikia inaweza kufanya inji ikuwe tena mzuri, sijui hii kitu itakuwa mbolea.
Ni kama mbolea. Kama nataka pima rutuba ya mchanga, ni gumu kuendelea kuchimba yote kupima yote. Kina science wanasema wanapima wachache, alafu kutoka hiyo wachache kwa ajili wanajua mchanga kabla mchanga mahali yote. Unajua hata kusimamia hapa, tunasimamia juu ya mchanga kabla karibu zaidi ya 5-10. Iko tofauti. Sawa.
The World Agroforestry Centre, or ICRAF, have been working with Wajibu to undertake scientific analysis on the soil samples collected from project sites across Kenya, including at Oreteti Makurian.
So for a number of years we've been, here at ICRAF, we've been working on developing what we call the Land Degradation Surveillance Framework, or the LDSF, which is basically a standardized set of methods for monitoring, for measuring baselines and monitoring ecosystem health, including soil health, of course, which is one of our main focuses. But we also look at vegetation, we look at land use, land cover, and so on and so forth. One of the key ecological variables that we look at and we study in great detail is actually soil carbon. Not necessarily so much traditionally so much for carbon trading and so on, but more because it is a very important indicator of the health of the soil.
Wajibu teams undertake field sampling at geo-referenced, randomly located sites across the area, following ICRAF's Land Degradation Surveillance Framework, establishing a baseline of land health and soil carbon. The Wajibu field supervisor, who has been trained by ICRAF, works with community members to collect soil samples which are identified with a unique reference number.
The samples, once logged in, they go through our spectral diagnostics lab, which includes various measurements using X-ray fluorescence and X-ray diffraction for basically for the chemical composition of those samples and for the mineral composition of the samples. Then they go on to our near-infrared and mid-infrared lab, where we basically do the spectral screening of the samples. And from each of these samples we get a spectral signature in the respective wavelengths that the different instruments operate at. These spectral signatures, they tell us a whole lot of different things about the sample. It could be to do with the carbon content, the physical properties of the sample, other fertility characteristics of the sample, and so on. So it's an extremely information-rich data set that we get from these instruments.
The community at Oreteti Makurian are very pleased with the initial outcomes of community planned grazing and the holistic management approach. Their lands are beginning to recover, and their animals will remain healthy through the long dry season.
The first good result we have achieved is that people have come together, they are able to work together, to put animals together, to punch them, to learn the techniques of even assessing the forage use and putting the kraals in the bad areas, most degraded areas, so that the soil can be disturbed, so that it can have ability to to sustain water during the rainy season.
Over time, as improved land management brings about the restoration of the environment, water infiltration will increase and the water table will rise. Old, currently lost springs will reappear, and the women of Oriteti Makurian, who walk for up to 5 hours a day through the searing heat to collect water for their family, will benefit from more abundant sources of water, closer to their homes.
At the moment we have so far got unity of our people because they are thinking together, and we are hoping they will continue.
The land rehabilitation programme and planned grazing training will continue into the future. Wajibu will continue to collect field data and work with ICRAF to develop a soil carbon methodology that can be used to trade carbon credits on the international markets, potentially bringing additional income directly to the local community. The health of the rangelands of the world is critical to the mitigation of climate change. As land health improves, soil carbon sequestration increases. A 4.2% increase in soil organic matter, the precursor to soil carbon, across the 5 billion hectares of global rangelands, could reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide to pre-industrialization levels.